Okay, here's a story about a girl who loses her humanity through a glitch in the loom. The room smelled faintly of mildew and metallic temps, the scent of agar and industry mingling uncomfortably in the stale air. Sunlight slanted through grimy windows, illuminating motes of dust dancing above Elara's workbench cluttered with glass vials, metal needles, and spools of luminous thread. Her fingers stained a constellation of rainbow colors, moved with practiced grace, weaving the midnight blue fabric with threads of pure silver. Each stitch glowed with an eerie light, casting twisted shadows that writhed like living things across the worn wooden floorboards. Outside, the perpetual twilight of the Pacific Northwest pressed against the windowpane, a heavy blanket of gray obscuring the sun. But here in Elara's sanctuary, it was always twilight, a perpetual dusk illuminated by the cold fire of bioluminescence. Elara, renowned for her one-of-a-kind textiles, had retreated to her workshop on the edge of town, seeking solace from the clamor of the outside world. For years, she'd crafted garments and tapestries that glowed with an otherworldly light, each piece a testament to her genius and a puzzle to those who marveled at them. Her work, a fusion of art and genetic engineering, had made her a legend in the fashion industry, though few had ever seen her or laid eyes on her face. Over time, her name became synonymous with glowing garments, a beacon in the dark for those seeking beauty and mystery. But now, alone in her cavernous studio, she felt the familiar ache of loneliness gnawing at her heart. Her creations, once her solace, now seemed like ghosts that mocked her solitude. Then came the commission that would change everything. A single garment that would blur the boundaries between creator and creation and plunge her into a nightmare of her own design. A renowned fashion designer, Lucien Vermin, had sought out Elara for a unique project. A dress woven with threads of living cells that would glow in response to the wearer's emotions. Intrigued by the challenge, Elara had accepted and set to work, drawing upon years of research and experimentation to create something truly special. She chose to weave the dress with genetically modified organisms that glowed different colors depending on their environment. As she wove the shimmering fabric, she hummed softly, lost in the rhythm of the loom, oblivious to the darkness that was taking shape in the heart of her creation. Days turned into weeks as Elara poured her heart and soul into the dress. Finally, it was complete, a masterpiece of light and living cells. It pulsed softly, a faint blue glow emanating from its depths, a subtle thrum vibrating against her fingertips as if alive. But as she stepped back to admire her work, she noticed something disturbing. In the center of the dress, nestled where the two halves met, was a small, pulsing anomaly, a dark blotch that seemed to suck the light from around it. At first, it was no bigger than a fingernail, but as she watched, it grew, becoming a gaping maw of darkness in the heart of the living tapestry. And within that darkness, something stirred. She reached out to touch it, her fingers sinking into the soft fabric. But as they made contact, the anomaly flared, sending a jolt of pain through her arm. Ah! She recoiled, staring in disbelief at the spot where her fingers had been. The darkness seemed to writhe, as if sensing her fear, and then it began to spread. Tendrils of black oozed outward, creeping across the fabric like a stain, consuming the vibrant threads and extinguishing their glow. Panic surged through Elara as she realized the scope of the disaster. What she had created was no longer under her control. The dress, meant to be a masterpiece, was turning into a nightmare. As she watched in horror, the dress consumed everything in its path, inching closer and closer to the edges, threatening to spill over and consume her entire creation. But just as suddenly as it began, the spreading darkness halted, leaving Elara trembling in the silence of her workshop. The dress, once a masterpiece, now bore a gaping wound of darkness in its chest, a constant, unsettling thrum resonating from its depths. Despite the damage, Elara saw a glimmer of hope. Perhaps she could contain the darkness, keep it from spreading any further. With renewed determination, she gathered her tools, ready to battle the creature she had unwittingly unleashed. First, she needed to understand what she was dealing with. Examining the dress under a microscope, she saw the creatures stirring within the fabric, tendrils writhing like living things. Days blurred into weeks as Elara worked tirelessly, trying to understand the creature she had created. Sleep became a distant memory, replaced by the relentless pursuit of knowledge. She studied its behavior, hoping to find a way to stop it, but only succeeded in deepening the mystery. Then came the breakthrough. While reviewing her notes, she discovered a startling correlation between the dress's thrumming and her own heartbeat. Could the two be linked? The idea both terrified and fascinated her. What if the dress was more than just a living tapestry? What if it was a part of her? Driven by this new understanding, Elara began a risky experiment, wearing the dress while monitoring her vital signs. At first, the results were inconclusive. But as the days passed, the connection between the dress and her became undeniable. The dress thrummed in sync with her heartbeat, responding to her emotions with an eerie accuracy. But this symbiotic relationship came at a cost. The dress, now a part of her, demanded her attention, whispering to her in a language she couldn't understand. Its needs became her needs, its hunger driving her to the brink of madness. Trapped in her own nightmare, Elara struggled to maintain her humanity, desperately clinging to the last vestiges of her former self. The line between creator and creation had blurred, leaving her on the precipice of oblivion. One night, as Elara lay sleeping, the dress stirred, its darkness pulsing in anticipation. The creature within, sensing her slumber, began to stir. Tentatively at first, it extended a tendril, feeling its way out of the fabric, tasting the world beyond. Then, emboldened by the absence of pain, it pushed further, its darkness seeping into the world like ink on a page. Elara stirred, her sleep disturbed by a premonition of some unseen danger. Unknowingly, she shifted, the movement setting off a chain reaction. The creature recoiled, jolted by the sudden disturbance. Sensing the approaching dawn, it panicked, realizing the sun's imminent arrival. With renewed urgency, it pushed against Elara's skin, forcing her to sit up. Groaning, Elara rubbed her eyes, confused and disoriented. As the dress thrummed with growing intensity, she looked down at the dress, now a swirling vortex of darkness in the morning light. Its tendrils reached out, anchoring themselves to her body with icy fingers. They burrowed deeper, ignoring the blood and bone beneath, determined to consume her entirely. With a Herculean effort, she pulled away, gasping for breath. Staring at her hands, she saw not her own reflection, but tendrils of darkness seeping through her skin. They spread like wildfire, traveling across her arms, consuming her flesh and bone. Screaming in terror, she collapsed, her body racked with pain. The creature within her surged, overwhelming her senses, drowning her in an abyss of darkness. As the sun rose, bathing the world in golden light, Elara's workshop echoed with her screams. The dress, now a sentient being, throbbed with power, its tendrils of darkness coiling around her like a shroud. Outside, birds sang cheerfully, oblivious to the horror unfolding within the workshop. The sun climbed higher in the sky, its light streaming through the grimy windows and illuminating the gruesome scene. Elara's body, a canvas of writhing darkness, lay still, her humanity consumed. Leaving behind a shell inhabited by the creature of her creation. And so the monster was born, birthed from the darkness of space and nurtured by the brilliance of a troubled mind. It emerged, blinking into the sunlight, a grotesque parody of humanity, forever trapped in a form it could never truly inhabit. The dress, once a thing of beauty, now a vessel of nightmares, stood abandoned, its purpose fulfilled. The stage was set for the monster's emergence into the world, leaving us to wonder what horrors will it bring with it.